Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nak, and today we're going to be learning about linear functions. So again, just to save us some time, I've already written down the definition, so let's just read it. It says that a linear function is a function of the form f of x equals mx plus b. The graph of a linear function is a line with the slope m, which is this m right here, and the y-intercept b. So this will be the y-intercept. Now, what's the y-intercept? Y-intercept is where the graph is going to cross or touches the y-axis. Anyways, the domain of a linear function is all real numbers. The functions that are not linear are called non-linear. Alright, now there are three different kinds of linear functions. So the first one is where the graph is increasing. Now in this case, we say that the slope is positive. So in this case, our slope m is positive. So that's how you read it. Alright, and the second case, I'm pretty sure that you can guess, is a decreasing linear function. So here's the picture of that, and in this case, we say that the slope is negative. How do we write that mathematically? Is slope, which is denoted by m, is less than 0. So that what are the numbers that's less than 0? Those are negative values. And the last one would be the constant linear function. Now in this case, we say that the slope is 0. I believe that there is one more linear function. And there it is. So it's a vertical line. So in this case, we say that the slope is undefined. So let me just write that. So slope m is undefined. Before we go over some examples, let's just read one theorem. It says that linear functions have a constant average of change. That is, the average rate of change of a linear function, f of x equals mx plus b, is given by. Alright, so ready? I've written down all possible ways that you can define a slope. So our slope m is delta y over delta x. Now, every time you see a Greek letter delta, that means difference in a math class. So, which means that y sub 2 minus y sub 1, whole thing divided by the difference in x, which is x sub 2 minus x1. Now, remember, y equals f of x. You all remember that? So with that said, y2 equals to f of x2. So I can also write y2 minus y1 by f of x2 minus f of x1. Now, another way to interpret a slope, I don't know if you've heard this before or not, but we also call it rise over run, which you'll see why in a minute. So for example, let's take this linear function f of x. And next, let's pick 2 points that lies on the graph. So let me just take which one is clear. So let me take this point right here. So what is that? X is -6 and then y is -5. All right. And then, let me see, this point. Okay, so this point is, what is the x value? X value is 1, 2, 3. And then our y value is 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 8. All right, now let's try to go over delta y over delta x. That's the value for slope. So the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So first, it doesn't matter which one you want to call your x1 or y1. But anyways, let's just call this one x1 and then y1. And this ordered pair as x2, comma, y2. So that average of change, or I should say the slope, the formula is given by y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So it looks like this is going to give us y2 is 8 minus y1 is -5. Whole thing over x2, which is 3, minus, and then x1 is -6. Let's simplify that. Then we're gonna get, what is that, 13 over 9. So let me just box that. I hope you can see this. So I claim that this is our slope m. Okay, so those of you who are a visual learner like me, let's just translate what the heck is this 13 over 9 means. Now remember that the denominator is the difference in x values, right? So given these 2 points, let's compute the distance between those x values. So I'm going to start from here when x is -6. Ready? I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I move 9 units, then I am able to reach the other point. So our displacement on the value of x is denoted by 9. Now we can do the same thing for the y. For the numerator, it's y2 minus y1, but that's the same thing as difference in the y value, right? So let's see if I can do this, right? So I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to get down to y equals to -5. All right, so let's count. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so that's what you're computing. So the difference along the y-axis is 13. So that's what the slope is. So basically, slope is a measure of the steepness of the given line. Now, this is also called rise over run. So if the slope is 13 over 9, that means that our rise value is 13, positive 13, and run value is positive 9. Now, when you have a positive with respect to y values, that means that you're going to go upward. All right, and then if x is positive, that means you're going to go towards the right. All right, move to the right. But anyways, keep that in mind. So let's translate this. So I'm going to start from the bottom point right here. So this is telling you to rise positive 13. So I'm going to go up 13 units, which will be here. And then our run value is also positive. So from this point, I'm going to move 9 units to the right. Then do you see that I can get to another point that is on the line? So that was just a visual way to explain what the slope is. But again, please know that slope is nothing but the measure of how steep the given line is. All right, let's do some examples. Example 1, determine whether the given function is increasing or decreasing. Part A, let f of x equals 2x minus 6. Now, remember that argument that we made earlier that if the slope is positive, right, that means that your graph is rising. So this is exactly of the form mx plus b, where the y-intercept is going to be -6, by the way. But anyway, so in this case, yes, our graph is increasing. All right, so that's going to be our answer. Now let's take a look at another one. Part B, let g of x equal 6 minus 5 over 6x. All right, remember that the slope, m, is the coefficient on your variable x. So I try to trick you here. Do you see what I did? I swapped the ordering of mx and then b. So this is right now of the form b minus mx. So let me just rewrite that. Okay, so this is exactly the same thing as -5 over 6x and then plus 6. All right, now this is of the form mx plus b. So our slope is going to be -5 over 6. So if it's negative, your graph is going to be decreasing. All right, so I'm just going to write it as decreasing. And our y-intercept is at positive 6. So that's where the graph is going to cross the y-axis. It's going to cross the y-axis at y equals to 6. I know that this is not part of what the question's asking, but we're going to have to do this anyway. So let's take a look at this. I'm only going to graph out part B by given information. All right, so this is telling you that your y-intercept is at 6, which is where the graph is going to cross the y-axis. So let me just jot that point down. So y equals to 6, so my straight line better pass through this point. All right, now slope is negative 5 over 6. So in that case, let me just write it out. Okay, so in this case, our slope is negative 5 over 6. By the way, you can write this as 5 over negative 6 if you want to. But just so that we all do it the same way, let's just take this. All right, so all you have to do is this. From this point, this is telling you rise negative 5 units from this point. So rise negative means what? You're going to have to go down 5 units. So you're going to have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and do not lift your pencil. Okay, because you still got to do run, because we just did rise over run. Now run is positive 6. So from this point, what you need to do is you're going to have to go 6 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and make yourself your final dot right there. So there is another point where the graph is going to cross. So connect those dots, and that is the graph of 6 minus 5 over 6x. All right, so now notice that it makes sense because our slope is negative, so that means that you're going to have a falling graph or decreasing graph. All right, let's go with the next definition. Next definition is the point-slope form of a linear equation. It says that the point-slope form of a linear equation is given by, that says y minus y1 right there. Sorry, let me just erase this nasty looking thing. So it's y minus y1 equals m quantity x minus x sub 1, where m is the slope, and then x sub 1 and y sub 1 are the x and the y coordinates of a specific point through which the line passes. Now from here, as long as you're given the point slope, you should be able to write y equals mx plus b by just solving for the variable y right here. All right, now I don't know if I mentioned the name of y equals mx plus b, but this equation is called the slope intercept form. Do you see why it's called a slope intercept form and then the point slope form? This is how I memorized it when I was a student. Look at the equation, right? What you're given, slope, and then b is supposed to be the y-intercept, right? So you're given slope and an intercept. That's why it's called a slope intercept form. And then point slope form, so what you're given is slope and x1, y1, which is a point, isn't it? That's why this is called the point slope form. Anyways, let's do some examples. Example 2. Find a linear equation satisfying the following conditions. All right, part A, you're given that f of negative 5 equals negative 4 and f of 5 equals to 2. So let's just translate what we're given. So let's just look at f of negative 5 equals to negative 4. Remember, y equals f of x, right? So that means that this is telling you when x is negative 5, our y value is going to be negative 4. So with that said, from this expression, equation I should say, what you're given is when x is negative 5, y value is going to be negative 4. And we can do the same thing for f of 5 equals to 2. So that means when x is 5, our y value is 2. So as long as you have 2 points, then you should be able to write a point slope form. So, but remember, the main key ingredient for the equation of the line is the slope. So given 2 points, I'm going to compute the slope. So let's do this. So I'm going to have, remember, m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which one you want to call it, x1 or, x2, but let's just go in order. I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and then x2, and then y2. So if I follow that, then I'm going to have 2 minus y1 is minus 4, whole thing over 5 minus 5. which gives us, what is that, 2 plus 4. This is the same thing as 2 plus 4, whole thing over 5 plus 5. So it looks like we're going to have a 6 over 10. Always reduce your slope. So this is same thing as 3 over 5. So let me box that because this is a very important information. This is our key ingredient, which is the slope. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to write down the point slope form. So I'm going to write it as point slope. All right, so always write down the formula down until you memorize it. So the formula is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Aha, by the way, the notation in the book says it's y1 x1, just like here, y1 x1, but you can easily have y2 and then x2. By the way, your answer will be exactly the same in terms of this slope intercept form. Your equation might look different in point slope if you decided to use the first ordered pair or the second ordered pair, which, you know what, I will show you that in a minute. Why not? Okay, so but if I want to follow this formula, then I would write it as, so which ordered pair do you want to take? So look at it. x1 y1, it has a negative, right? x2 y2 has a positive, so which one looks more friendlier? I think I like the positive one, but if I have to follow this formula, right, by taking x1 and y1, then I'm gonna have y minus y sub 1 is negative 4 equals, our slope is 3 over 5, and then you're going to have a x minus and then minus 5. So let's clean it up a little bit. So here you're going to have a y plus 4 equals 3 over 5 and then x plus 5. So this is the point slope form by taking the first ordered pair. Sorry, I ran out of room, so I just copied down the equation, the point slope form that we just got. Okay, now from here, all you have to do is solve for y to get the slope intercept form. All right, so let's do it. So step 1, I'm just gonna go y plus 4 equals, distribute the 3 over 5 to each term. So you got a 3, do you see what I'm doing? I'm gonna distribute 3 over 5 to each term to get 3 over 5 times x plus 3 over 5 times the 5. All right, now remember 5 is same thing as 5 over 1, right? So what can I do? I can cancel these 5s. So now let's do this step by step, right? So you got a y plus 4 equals 3 over 5 and then plus 3. Remember, you're trying to solve for y equals something. So next step, you're gonna have to subtract 4. Oh, I forgot to write the x down, sorry. There you go. All right, so that implies that we're gonna have y equals 3 over 5x and then minus 1. So now this is in slope intercept form. So let me just write slope intercept form, and then this is the point slope form. So the graph of y plus 4 equals 3 over 5 times x plus 5 is exactly the same graph as y equals 3 over 5x minus 1. Okay, so the point slope form that we got here was by taking the first ordered pair that was given to us, which was negative 5 comma negative 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. I told you earlier that I could also take the other ordered pair, although point slope is going to look completely different, but the final result will be the same. So let's check it. All right, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one and then try to come up with the point slope. All right, so here what I'm going to get is y minus y2 equals mx minus x2. Ready? So here you're going to have y minus y sub 2 is 2 equals slope, which is 3 over 5, and then x minus x sub 2 is 5. Look, notice that, yes, this is the point slope form, but do you see that this equation looks completely different than this equation here? All right, but that does not mean that you did something wrong. Okay, so now let's make this into a slope intercept form by trying to solving for y. So I'm going to go y minus 2 equals, I'm going to distribute the 3/5 to each term again. You're going to have a minus 3 over 5 times 5, which is same thing as 5 over 1. So you're going to have y minus 2 equals 3 over 5x. And then I can cancel out the 5's again. So we're going to have minus 3. All right, now I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Then what do we get? We're going to have y equals 3 over 5x and then minus 1. Exactly the same slope intercept form that we got here by plugging it in x1 and y1 value. So again, your point slope form might look different, but at the very end, your final result will be the same. Let's take another example, part B. I want you to come up with the equation of a line that passes through the point 1, 5 and 4, 11. All right, ready? So what was the key ingredient to write an equation of a line? Yes, slope. So step 1, find yourself a slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So again, it does not matter which one you want to call your x1 or x2, but let me just keep it in this order then. So this is same thing as 11 minus 5 all over 4 minus 1, which is 6 over 3, all right, which is same thing as 2. So again, I'm going to box our slope. Now let's go with the point slope. All right, always write down the formula down. So you're going to have y minus, I don't know which one you want to take. Let's just take y1 equals m and then x minus x1. Oh, by the way, if you're going to choose to be y1, then you better take the corresponding x value, which will be x1. Anyways, let's keep going. So this is same thing as y minus y1 is 5 equals m, which is 2, and then x minus 1. All right, so this is your point slope form. All right, now to get the slope intercept form, all you have to do is solve for y from here. So let's do it. So we have a y minus 5 equals, now I'm going to distribute the 2 to each term to get 2x minus 2. Now add 5, because remember you're solving for y, so you're going to have a y equals 2x and then plus 3. All right, so this is the equation of the same line as above in slope intercept form. You know what? I did not ask you to graph this, but let's just practice. Okay, so let's graph y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, so step 1, our slope is 2, but remember, you're going to have to go rise over run, right? So try to write 2 in terms of a fraction. How can I write 2? Well, isn't it the same thing as 2 over 1? So 2 will be the rise, and then 1 will be the run. They're both positive in this case, so you better get an increasing graph. Okay, so now the y-intercept is y equals to positive 3. So in this case, our graph is going to cross the y-axis at a y equals to 3. So your line better go through here. All right, now remember what to do. From this point, you're going to perform rise over run to get another point which lies on the graph. So ready? You're going to rise 2 units, 1, 2, and don't lift your pencil up, and then you have to run 1 unit. Now after you do the rise over run, then make yourself a dot, and those are the 2 points where the line's gonna passes through. So here is the graph of y equals 2x plus 3, and this is same thing as y minus 5 equals 2 times x minus 1. Exactly the same. All right, now let's do some real-world applications. So example 3, a gym membership with 2 personal training sessions cost $125. while gym membership with 5 personal training sessions costs $260. What is cost per session? So let's just jot down what we're given. It says that membership with 2 personal training sessions, so 2 sessions is going to cost $125, and 5 sessions is going to cost $260. So let's write this down mathematically. All right, so this is how am I going to label this. I'm just going to denote our x comma y, where x is the number of sessions and our y is going to be the cost of the sessions. So those of you who are more of like a visual person, let me just draw out the situation and see what's going on. All right, so what I did was I just drew a xy coordinates where the x-axis is the number of sessions for 1 session, 2 sessions, and so forth. And our y-axis plays as how much it's going to cost per session. So let me just jot down what we're given. So it says that 2 personal training sessions cost $125. Okay, so first of all, this is going to be completely off the scale. So just please bear with me. So this is going to be $125, but that's for 2 sessions, right? So let me just plot the dot here. All right, and then for 5 sessions, it's going to cost $260. So let me just put this point as 260. So does that look right? Now let me draw a graph connecting those 2 points. And before I forget, let me just jot down what we're given. Sorry, I should have wrote that first. So we're given that 2 sessions is going to equal to $125. And then 5 session is going to cost us $260, right? So let's just call this maybe x1, y1, and then x2, y2. So given those 2 points, right, do you see that we should be able to come up with the equation of our graph? But before we do that, let's try to understand what's going on here. Okay, so 2 sessions is going to cost $125. 5 sessions, $260, right? Now, what's the question asking? What is the cost for per session, meaning 1 session? That means that basically what the question's asking you is when x is 1, what is the corresponding y value? Does that make sense? So let me just write when x is 1. Sorry, this is like completely drawn off the scale. What is the corresponding price for 1 session? Does that make sense? But let me just first come up with the equation of this line. And all we need to do after we can come up with the function f of x, what we need to do to determine the price is we just plug it in 1 in place of x to compute the corresponding value for y. All right, so let's get started. So first, main ingredients in writing the equation of the line is, slope. So slope is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So y2 is 260 minus y1 is 125. Whole thing divided by 5 minus 2. Which gives us, what is that, 135 over 3. Now is 3 going to that? I think so, right? Yeah. Is it 45? So let me just box that because this is going to be our slope of the equation of the line that we're about to bust out. All right, so now since we're given 2 points, we should be able to get the point slope form. Let me just write everything. Point slope form of an equation of the line. So how does it go? Y minus y1 equals m, and then x minus x1. So let's just follow it up and just write it as y minus y1, which is 125, equals 45, which is the slope, and then x minus x1 is 2. All right, so now let's just try to solve for y, which means that we're going to put this in the slope intercept form. All right, so first I'm going to distribute the 45 in to get y minus 125 equals 45x and then minus 90. And now I'm going to add 125 to both sides. And what do we get? We get y equals 45x and then 125 minus 90 is what? 35? Positive 35? Boom! So this is the equation of the line that we just drew. So our f of x, let me just write it where it was. So our f of x is precisely 45x and then plus 35. Well, how do we know that if this equation is correct? Well, you can do it this way, because when x is 2, right? This x is 2, our corresponding y value should be what? 125, right? So let's just quickly check to make sure that this is right. So if I check when x is 2, we're going to have 45 times 2 plus 35, which is 90 plus 35, which is going to give us, what is that, 125, which makes sense. All right, so now all we're going to have to do is we just compute f of 1. Because if I compute f of 1, that's going to give us the corresponding price per session, right? Because 1 stands for 1 session. All right, so let's do it. So our f of 1 is going to be 45 times 1 and then plus the 35, which equals to 80. Now, since this was the word problem, please express your answer in words or sentences. So I would write this as, therefore, the price per session is $80. Pretty cool, huh? See, math is applicable. And there you have it. All right, I'm going to stop the lecture here. So again, great job. And if you have any questions at all, please let me know.